What's good, world? It's your boy Big Jax. We are inside the locker room show, our post Super Bowl locker room show. We got the crew in here with us tonight. My man, 10-year vet, former Kansas City Chief, former Philadelphia Eagle as well, Mizzou Tiger on top of that. My man, Steve Martin. What's good, Big Steve?
What's good? How we doing, Jax?
Man, hanging in there, brother, And of course, we got the one and only Rev in the house with us tonight. What's going on, Rev?
Hey, it's your world. I'm just spinning around in it.
I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut. You heard me? So, as I said, it is post Super Bowl locker room show style. Of course, we know the Philadelphia Eagles came out and put a licking on those Kansas City Chiefs, 40-22, and it wasn't even that close at all. Steve, man, what happened to the Chiefs, man? Jeez.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, people talk all that trash about who they were and how they got the rest cheating for them and all that. Honestly, I think it was a spirit thing that God left them. They left them like y'all on your own today, because man, they got woolly whip wop wop, and you know, and the irony is, I played for both teams,
Yeah.
and played for both coordinators.
Yeah.
And uh, the it was just bad. I mean, honestly, it was the two turnovers that we just couldn't come back from, and they made two big plays. And in big games, it's all you need. You don't need all the whatever hype got you there, because it doesn't matter. All that matters is what you do on game day.
Yeah.
And as bad as it hurt to watch him get beat so bad, I'd rather get my ass beat than to lose one by 1 or 2 points, because it hurt. I had to turn TV off. I had to walk away, get away from it now, because all I could think was, I don't want to watch that ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to watch them post that trophy.
No.
It was hurting. It was devastating.
Yeah, it was.
And we got whooped. So imagine what it is to lose by 1 or 2. It's got to be that much more, because you're just one play, half a breath, half a effort, half of anything, and you win the game. So at least they beat us.
They did that.
And they're a great team. Take nothing from them. They're a great team. We focused on Saquon. We shut him down. But that was imperative. We had to.
Yeah.
You don't want him running for 225 in 6 touchdowns. You would kill yourself as a coordinator if you let him run on you. So, it was literally the turnovers, and they got 2 big plays, and that's all it took. So it hurt, but we still got a great team. We still got to the Super Bowl. We still got what we need. It just sucks when you get outplanned and outperformed. It really does.
And they got completely outplayed and outperformed. Rev, what'd you think about that ugliness?
Well, it's one thing to get to the Super Bowl. It's another thing to lose the Super Bowl. So we'll see over the off season. Hats off to Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. But listen, without Vic Fangio, they don't win that football game. I mean, that defense was stellar. They never blitzed. They came with 4 on top, and that should say something to the Kansas City folks that we might need to go find us some tackles. Okay, we've been talking about it all year, and we thought maybe they'd turn the corner. Well, they turned a corner all right at the Super Bowl. I mean,
they got clubbed in the face.
When you're talking about, like Steven said, if you're going to lose, and we've been in big games before, You almost want to get drubbed. That way you leave no doubt versus, a onesie, twosie game where you have all the doubt in the world and woulda, coulda, shoulda starts haunting you for the rest of your life. Listen, hey, they got beat. Hey, they got beat by Tampa too, and they came back and won 2 in a row. So, does Pat Mahomes have enough leg room? The fact of the matter is this team has enough in the tank to repeat again, and probably do it a couple more times before they really transition out. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Travis Kelce, whether or not he becomes a Swifty 100%, or if he's still going to play tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. But I think that, if we're going to talk about Andy Reid and legacy and Steve Spagnuolo, guys, hats off to them. It is hard to win a Super Bowl. That's why hardly anybody, ask Dan Marino. It's one of those things where some of the greatest players have never won. Earl Campbell,
Jim Kelly.
Okay, Jim Kelly. The facts are there where you don't just get to go to the Super Bowl and then to win it consecutively. Hats off to that staff. Yeah, they lost. They got their pies kicked in. They, for the better half of probably 3 quarters, we were all standing there wondering what is going on. But at the end of the day, you either take your licking, you're beaten, or you run from it. And I think that there's enough character with the Chiefs organization. Right down from Clark Hunt to the staff, where they're going to take this as a learning opportunity. And do I think they look past Philadelphia? You can't. It was the last game of the year. There's no looking past. They got beat, and the facts are is that when they paired up, Philadelphia has the largest offensive lines in the NFL. They also have a pretty good defensive line. And, not taking anything away, but that kid from South Dakota and they say he's from Iowa, but he was born in Sioux Falls, that had the pick 6 early. That really changed the stunting of the game, because as soon as you throw one of those, the quarterback starts to get the whoopsies. Like, I don't know if I need to throw it in that tight of coverage. I don't want to see him return another one. Those are the things that happened early to Pat and to the Chiefs that really set this football game up for a jailbreak. And again, every time they made a mistake, Philly capitalized. And what can you say about that? That's just football. Shoe on the other foot. The last thing I want to hear about is that it's scripted. Okay. We've heard this since week 1, that the referees were in love with the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, if that's the case, they were left at the altar last Sunday. Okay. And, as they say, it's better to be the bride than the bridesmaid. And when we're looking at this thing, maybe 2-3 years from now, we'll be able to see what challenges were met. Like I said, knowing Andy's character and the character of the Chiefs organization, they're not going to let this sleeping dog lie. They're going to go out. They're going to evaluate. They're going to go get some more pieces to the puzzle. They're already talking about it, and they're going to add some pieces to the draft and through some free agency. Now, with all of that said, who knows what 2025 has in store? But I could tell you, getting there 3 times, ask the Buffalo Bills. That's about the only team that ever went there 3, and they went there 4 times, and they couldn't capitalize. And I could tell you something. Uh, when you ask them, "Hey, how come you never won?" They say, "Which one?" At least there's some hardware in Kansas City, okay? And the fact of the matter is that we've got a young enough quarterback, we've got a decent enough defensive secondary and D line. I don't know if we're going to keep Chris Jones from crying every game, but the reality is this: if that is what it takes to get him going, I'll be right there to help him cry.
I would tell you in a heartbeat that I know why they lost. They lost because they didn't get rid of the ball. The front four for Philly just dominated our front five. That's just what happened. And we have a quick game. We just didn't go to it. And that's on Andy. And maybe Andy or you want to put on Nagy, whichever one was calling the game. But we had to go to the quick game immediately because once they got the second sack, it's like, yo, we're not slowing these guys down. When Davis got the sack, that's what said, oh, that dude ain't done shit all year. And now he's getting the sack. It's like, come on now. We got to go to the quick game because we have the quick game because we had it against San Francisco. San Francisco had, remember when we went to the first one where San Francisco had Bosa and those 3 mean defensive linemen that was just obliterating us? We just let Bosa go inside and Pat ran outside of him. So that got the time that Pat needed. What we need on this one, we need those hot passes, those two-step throw to slow down that defensive front. And we didn't get that. Pat was back there holding the ball way too long and, as if he had a month to throw it. It's the Super Bowl. You got to win it on coming up with something that they don't have, you haven't run, that they can't evaluate and they can't, scheme for. You got to have something unique, which we've had every Super Bowl we won. That's what we walked into. This one, we walked into this one like, yo, we got time to throw. No, you don't. You got to adjust immediately. You don't have it. You don't have 4 or 5 possessions to do that. And every true Chiefs fan was still sitting there hoping 3 minutes in the game, somehow we're going to turn over. We're going to get 5 possessions in 3 minutes. I mean, that's what I was. I was like, we're going to get 5 possessions. Now, if we score right now, onside kick, score right now, onside kick, score right now, we could get there. But I knew that was unrealistic when I said it. So it is what it is. But it's easy to say when you outside looking in. It's another thing to say when you're sitting there saying, "Man, we had a game plan that this should work," and you're still trying to make that game plan work. It's easy for me to say on the outside looking in, "Yo, you should flip to this." It's another thing.
I started getting nervous when I saw the abandonment of the running game.
Yeah.
And when with Pacheco and with Hunt, I thought that was part of setting up. It's part of setting up the West Coast, which is what Andy runs. That the hybrid, as well as that quick game, and those guys. I mean, they were non-existent for 4 quarters. I mean, I'm not pointing a finger at them. I'm just saying there wasn't a lot of times that they got to touch the football. When they did, I mean, it was for 1 loss or 2 yards or 3-yard loss. And that inconsistency is what drives a coordinator to start throwing the football all over the place. And really all Philly did was pin their ears back and just go after Pat.
Yeah.
And
once because you remember one of the very first plays that they ran on offense was that quick pass that he threw it to Juju right over the middle.
Right.
But it wasn't very long, like you said, that you start to tell that they were not going to be able to stop those front 4. And I think about the pick 6 in particular. When they went down 10, oh, that's the death knell. Because anytime we go down by 10, Pat's like undefeated. You know what I mean? But on that drive where he threw the pick six, the first two plays, them cats was back there so fast. I mean, just buried Pat right off the bat. Boom, boom. First two plays. And then on that third down, he threw that pick six. And for the most part, that game was over right there. I mean, it was the option to run the ball at that point to me was almost nil. The defense, it was doing what they could. Like you said, they kept Saquon contained, but Jalen still had a very good game. Those receivers are still some good receivers. So it was very, very disappointing to see this offense not be able to fight back and not be able to put up anything to help that defense out. Because I think that defense played well enough that if they had had any kind of back from that offense at all, and not just a continuous 3 and out, and then so many stupid penalties, man. Like, times when even when the defense had times to get them off the field, you got a mini Hugh line up off sides, or you had the McDuffie play when he went to the head of the receiver. Like it was bad, man, to see.
Yeah, but in the big games, it is what it is. You're gonna make those. Sometimes you're gonna make them. Sometimes you're not. You can't sweat the penalties. What you got to sweat is execution.
Absolutely.
Because that's what you need. Because the bottom line is, the Chiefs made 2 mistakes, and the Eagles made none.
Right.
And that's the turnover battle.
Yep.
And they won the turnover battle, and that's what killed us. Because once they got up by 17, we're forced into a must pass game. But that's the only thing I'm saying that I saw was, yes, the defense played great, not good. They played great. They played championship football.
Yeah.
The offense failed to shift to the quick pass game. It's as if there was a plan in their mind that they were trying to run a specific type of offense, and Philly had the answer for that.
Man.
And that's that point where you got to get in out of your own head. And this is coordinating. It's nothing to me. It's nothing against Mahomes or anybody else other than coordinating. In that we got to get that ball out.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first sack is just what it is. The second one, but that third one, whoa, we done threw a pick, and we done got to give up 3 sacks. We got to get that ball out because they're just beating us with the front 4.
Yeah.
So we got to answer for it, but we got to put that answer on the field because, again, you got to take what the defense gives you. And the defense they were solid bull rushing. Carter didn't have no sacks, but he drew the attention, which is what gave Davis his sack and everybody else their sacks because they're spending their time trying to block Carter. They got to go one-on-one with everybody else. Well, they said across the board, one-on-one, we're going to win that. And they did.
Well, so I thought Trey did a pretty good job, head up on Carter. But at the same time, that second pick that Pat threw, the one that gave Philly the short field, your left tackle, Joe Thuney's legs were in between Pat's legs because he had been bull rushed all the way back into the quarterback's lap, literally. He's standing in the quarterback's lap. So what they did, and obviously that left tackle was something that they knew was an issue since last year. It was an issue. They tried to draft to fix it, and they did not make it on either one of those with Wanye or Santamaia. Neither one of those guys that they drafted was able to stand up to it. Then when Humphreys comes in, now you got to move Thuney. Now you got Caliendo at guard. Like it was brutal, man. They got my 6-year-old grandson said we got cooked, Grandpa. We got cooked.
Hey man, and this is where I'm just like, bro, how many games did we win by less than 2 points?
A lot.
I mean, that's some mojo, some football gods mojo that you can't buy that shit.
Nope.
And we barely beat. It's not like we woolly whopped Buffalo. You know, we did spank the Texans.
Yeah.
But all them games, man, the doink, the Raiders the second time. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
With nail biters.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, you know, it hurt, but we lost that mojo come the Super Bowl. It's just what it was. It was all spent. And, you know, like I said, no regrets. We can't be regretful. It hurts. It sucks because the three-peat was right there. Could have took it. You know, but nobody's ever done that. So to at least be on the stage, to be presented to saying, hey, we could do something nobody ever done, that's a miracle in and of itself. So we got to be grateful for that. We still got a great team. You know, don't know what's going to happen with Kelsey. I personally would say don't retire because I don't know where else you're going to go. Number one, that's going to give you this great opportunity. Number two, you fit. I mean, you got a role here. This is the greatest part about the team that I've always said was the buy-in that you got. My main man, P. Ryan, I just see myself in him. That he's been around the league for a minute. He only gets 3 plays a game, but every time he steps in the game, he makes it count. And that's what you have to do as a player. When you start understanding that you are a role, you are not even Pat. He's got to know you're the miracle player. You make miracle plays, but you still got to operate within inside of a certain spectrum. You can't I'm sure there's times he just throws the ball and says, Jesus, take the wheel. Clearly that's what he does because he did it twice and it turned it over. But, you know, he's got to operate within inside a certain spectrum. So, you know, as bad as it hurts, as bad as it sucks, you know, still proud of the guys, still proud of what they did. Nobody's perfect. And, you know, we were looking for perfection and it just didn't happen.
Great season, no doubt.
Fantastic season. Unbelievable season.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
The only situation that I can equate is that Patriots season where they went undefeated all the way up into the Super Bowl and lost it. Hey guys, at least you know we had one or two that kind of let us know perfection isn't what we're going for. We're just looking for victory. You know, I wanted to bring up something. I am not a fan of 2 weeks off after the championship game, where they have this circus of a Pro Bowl now, which, you know, there are teams that respond well because of injury. And of course, everybody makes the excuse everybody's injured. We're going to give them, you know, a week off, and then we're going to come back. We're going to practice that full week up until the Super Bowl. I'm one of those guys that say right after the championship game, a week later, you should be playing the Super Bowl because everybody has their football legs. It looked to me like the Chiefs had taken some time off, and when that happens, you have to be suspect of, well, did they get the 1 week off or did they get the 2 week off? And they got the 2 week off. And listen, they weren't in Miami; they were in New Orleans. I don't know anybody been to New Orleans. I mean, yeah, they've got the French Quarter, but it is not the distraction that Southern California or South Beach or, you know, those places are. New Orleans has its own. I mean, unless you don't like shrimp etouffee, which I love.
Oh my God!
I think the biggest drug the Chiefs was on was the 3-peat. I mean, because the media, oh my God, the media is so intense right now. I don't really know how you can handle this shit because it's off the chain.
Yeah.
I mean, you go and not to mention they try to turn the Chiefs into the villains. As in, like, what are they doing wrong? They're doing everything they can. Oh, you guys got the refs and stuff. And again, to me, all this shit comes out of Vegas because Vegas is the one that's got to get Josh Allen to the Super Bowl because statistically, he's supposed to be that guy.
Right.
They got to get Lamar Jackson to the Super Bowl because statistically he's that guy. Because the Vegas only runs on statistics, and when you don't fit in their box, that's my opinion. They run to push you into their box. Because if they can control the numbers and the numbers control the game, then they control the game and they'll control all the numbers.
Well,
And they'll go in and I think the other thing you saw with this game is that you can take them numbers and wipe your ass with them. They don't mean anything because it's game day. And if somebody got bubble guts or somebody's toe hurts or
Right.
somebody got a headache or got in a fight with their girlfriend or their wife, that's going to affect their play. So the numbers don't matter.
no.
This is not Madden football. This is real life. And you don't know who's suffering from what on any given Sunday. You don't know.
Right. Right.
When they step on the field, it's going to show.
Well,
It's just going to show.
Well, and I think two things, Rev. I think one of what you were talking about in terms of that 1 week, just like Steve always tends to put it on Vegas, I always tend to put it on the media. And so that whole week off, that second week is all about the media. It's all for them to do that big thing on Monday night. It's all for them to have all those media availabilities throughout that whole week, to be out and doing shows live from New Orleans all week. Like everything, it all pays off because this Super Bowl was again the number one most watched Super Bowl ever. 26 million viewers. So it's all about the show. And to me, like you look at the point spread, you were a point and a half point spread. That's perfect for Vegas. Like everybody on a bro, you got everybody's voting on betting on either side. A lot of money came in on Philly because everybody was hating on the Chiefs. So it worked out perfect. But that idea of, and I heard Andy talked about it in terms of that first week while they were still here in KC, he was installing game plan. They had real practice. They did real work that week because he knows that the week that they're in this on site at the Super Bowl, that they got too much other stuff going on. They're not getting in any real practice. But for me, I didn't see like anything that told me that the Chiefs were off. I just thought that the Eagles front four absolutely obliterated them. And there were times when they actually left two extra guys in, so they had 7 blocking 4 and still couldn't keep Pat on his feet. Like that's so the rest of that time they never blitzed one time in the entire game. And still got like 50%, almost 50% hurries on that throughout the game. Like they absolutely obliterated this offensive line. So that's the thing for me. And you mentioned it earlier that when they got beat by Tampa a few years ago, and it was because everybody on the offensive line got hurt, what did they do? They went out the next year, revamped the whole offensive line, and went back to back. So that's my thing is I'm hoping that they're able to go out, fix the problem, and retool and come back next year with a healthy Rashee Rice, with a healthy Worthy, a healthy Pacheco for the whole season. Probably keep Kareem around. That's the step now is what are we going to do next year? Are you going to sign Trey or not? I don't see any way they're going to try and sign Trey Smith, even though he's probably going to get about the same amount of money as what they gave Creed Humphrey, which, in my opinion, I think that's a mistake. I think they should have kept Trey and not Creed. But maybe Pat was that much in love with Creed, even though I saw Creed dribble one to Pat in the game the other night. And he hadn't done that all season, where he was dribbling the ball back there to him. But there are a lot of questions that they're going to have to be able to solidify in this offseason, especially up front, in order to keep this thing moving. That's where their work is going to be cut out for them.
You want to take that, Ref?
Well, I just think that when you're talking about the off season, there's going to be a few. You've got 6 new head coaches in different places, and you know what head coaches do. They're going to bring in their guys, and so that means the guys are going to be left, basically on the scrap pile until they find a new admirer. I think what I've always liked about Andy Reid is the fact that Andy Reid is he's a player's coach, but he's also a guy that doesn't look beyond and think I'm going to try to make this player this. He takes the skill suit of the player and puts it into the team plan and the team format. Um, you know, for what it's worth, the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl. So they're not a couple pieces away from the Super Bowl. They're a couple pieces away from re-winning the Super Bowl. True. And that's a different kind of atmosphere. Plus, you have a quarterback that every time he steps on the field, for the most part, can do just about anything he wants to. Now, we saw this past week some of his limited action. I believe that is more of an anomaly than it was, or as they say, it's not the standard. It was the exception to the rule. Vic Fangio got ran out of Miami, okay? And now he's a Super Bowl champ. That's how quickly the NFL can turn. Now, the nice part about Kansas City is what Steve said. They still have most of the pieces to the puzzle. All they got to do is really go out there and find a onesie, twosie, maybe 3 different guys for that offensive line, plug in a couple different specialists. And what are we talking about? We're talking about a case of we'll be right back at you next year. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Haven't used that in a while, but that the reality is, we're not talking about a team that went 7-9 or 7-10. We're talking about a team that made it to the Super Bowl, right. And by all the announcements and I realize that we're doing a podcast and everybody's got the next answer. Radio Row in the NFL is the biggest bunch of fluff and hot air you can find. I mean, it is literally about who's your favorite. It's kind of like who's your favorite girl to take to prom, and they talk about her until they're almost to the point where you can't ask the question another way. It's been asked so many times. And at some point, and being a little bit on that staff side and on that coaching side, I can't stand that stuff. I think it's a huge waste of time. I don't want to come off like Marshawn Lynch because I know that the entertainment and the TV money, but Marshawn had it down where the distraction wasn't going to get to him. He just said, I'm here so I don't get fined. I thought it was brilliant. And I know that probably Pete Carroll, while, he had to say something overtly like, well, we're trying to get him to work with the media groups. In the back of his head, he's like, that's perfect because at least they're not getting to him. You could do enough media where you get tired of it. And the question that they ask over and over and over again, different ways, that's the kind of stuff where, not to bring up which head coach, but he used to say, did you play high school football? And that would equate to, are you going to ask me another dumb question about this? And for me, it was always kind of I would giggle to myself. I'd sit there in the conference room and I'd just start laughing because, he's basically saying, listen, if you've never played this game, you would realize how ignorant that question that you just asked was. And while everybody knows that these guys, they have, inflated salaries, they have, been catered to their whole life, we'll get the whole, they're spoiled athletes. Nobody stands over a chef in the back of the house and boos them or cheers them when they make a great cutlet. Okay, this is a different kind of unique opportunity for somebody to be employed, and that employment comes with the media. Now, with that said, there is a point where the media needs to understand you're not changing the game. You're actually just kind of asking the same redundant rhetorical question 95 different ways. Those are the things that I think, during that second week are just what can I say without sounding too negative? Which is just too much, and they should hold these guys. That is the reporters to one question, and if they ask the same question, on to the next one, because it's flabbergasting after a while.
You gotta be there. I was there when I was in Houston. I did Channel 24, and I was doing Media Day on Media Day. And I promise you, the most staggering part about it is each player's like in their own little area, and the reporters go from section to talking to different players. But when I tell you the same question 50 to 60 times in 25 or 30 minutes, the same question: is your knee better? Is your knee better? Is your knee better? How you think you're going to do today? Is your knee better? Is your knee better? That is, and you're getting questions, and they got interpreters because there's people from all over the world.
Oh yeah,
who are there asking you, and because they couldn't understand the other 50 people that asked you that question, they ask you the same question. And then by the time you get to the 99th person that's asking you the question, it's like, hell yeah, they deserve to die. I hope they burn in hell. And that's the recording that they'll get, regardless of how you answered the other 99 times.
That's right.
It's ridiculous. It's insidious. So I agree with you 100%. There's another thing that's going on now, that's social media, which I wasn't there when I was there. But just the media by itself, you get 99 questions the same. There's no difference in the question. I'm telling you, Rev. There's no difference in the question.
That's right.
The worst part is the person standing right next to the person that just asked, is your knee okay? They say, hey, well, is your knee okay? It's like that's the only change. And it's the most important thing. Like, you gotta be mentally, emotionally strong to endure that, because that's why they have it on Monday, so they get it out the way.
Yeah.
So we get it. You get interviewed by the New York Times. You get interviewed by Newsweek magazine, or some of these bigger mags, and then you get what I call the podcast geniuses. Okay, and we're sitting here on a podcast, so listen, it doesn't. I'm not remiss from it. The issue is, I've been in the locker room, as has Steve. Jax, I mean, we've all been there, to the point where we're just giving a little bit of opinion from what we've seen, not what we heard down the hallway on Radio Row from some other, slappy that's now out there, trying to get his podcast up to 100,000 viewers. The real reality is this. when you got to ask the same question that somebody's already asked 30, 40 times, you should be booed. Okay, just like they boo somebody who throws a ball in the ground on 3rd and 11. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's literally that bad where you're like, you
It
couldn't
is.
come up with an original thought. There's not one question in the whole time that they were asking the same question that would have been brought up. We play 17 games. It sounds like we're going to probably be playing 18 before too long. And the only thing we're stuck on, and I'll just use Steve's idea of, is your knee. How about your other knee? Let's talk about that. Your ankle. Maybe we'll talk. These are the
You know,
things that,
one of the worst parts, and this is in early 2000s when I was there, 03.
right.
You got questions coming from Nickelodeon, the
Yeah.
cooking
Oh, yeah.
channel,
Oh, yeah.
hunting and fishing, and it's like, huh? What do you know about football? And when they ask that same question, you're just offended, like, you don't know anything about what I'm doing. What the hell are you doing?
Right.
Sitting here asking me questions. And the serious beat writers, they're not always that bright. They
Right.
just regurgitate what other people say. So you
Right.
got 3 real reporters out of hundreds of people that are sitting in front of you. And those 3 reporters will ask those 3 important questions. And when they ask those 3 questions, those are the 3 questions that get asked by everybody else. Nobody else
It's
knows
true.
enough about the game to even ask the questions. So, like I said, you got this social media that's even worse now. So, I 100,000% will tell you the media's got to fix their shit. I'm gonna say this about the team. The team, like Rev said, there's not a lot of adjustments. They literally just need game plan adjustments. They got everything they need. They just needed to shift. If they'd have shifted to a quick passing game, that's it. That team wins. It changes it because the defense played sound. And this is the reality of football. I'm a defensive guy, but it is what it is. Defense wins championships. Period. That front 4 dominated our front 5, and we had no answer for it. We actually do. We just didn't use it.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. So what we don't want to do is go in the off season thinking, oh, we need to upgrade this, we need to upgrade that. You always can upgrade a position. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
we don't need to go on some kind of fire sale. That's
Yes.
not the point.
Yeah,
That's
don't
not
be
the
like,
point.
but Kelce, he's done, he's had it. I've heard a lot of people say that. He's done, he's had
Right.
it. Kelce's Kelce. He is not
Right.
going to be the Kelce he was from 7 years ago. But what he can do is find that open spot when your fast guys go and stretch the field.
That's
That's
right.
what we need to do. I was waiting
And
for
when your
him.
quarterback has time.
Just
And when your quarterback has
send
time.
Worthy on a corner route, send Hopkins on a post route, and just throw it up there just to keep that secondary back there. Make those safeties backpedal and go cover. If they'd have just did that in addition to the quick hot game, we have a different game. And this the thing is that the Chiefs know this, and they were just off. And it happens when somebody gets your number, it's a bitch. It is what it is. You got the best team in the NFL. Period. They got your number. They dialed you up and they got you. Something knocked you off throughout the week. Something knocked you off from adjusting like you normally do. Take that on the chin and come back next year and beat the brakes off everybody. Yes, go upgrade what you can, but for the most part, I'm not trying to have a fire sale on the offensive line.
Right.
Don't. Just you need better tackles. That's never changed. When you're inside 3, now got to fight the best defensive tackle in the game. That's going to compromise them. Yeah. So it is what it is. It's the NFL. That's what you got to. That's what the Vegas doesn't understand is the NFL don't want to mess with what happens on Sunday. No, they just don't. They mess with everything else.
Correct.
But they got to leave Sunday alone.
Yeah.
Because if they go in there and start tormenting it, people ain't gonna trust it, and it's really hard. And I say this all the time: you can cheat with the refs, but it's really hard to get 44 people to act the way you want to on even give a snap. Godspeed to you if you
Not
got
gonna
that.
happen. I got 3 sons. They don't even listen. 2 of them,
Correct.
the same. So
Well,
yeah, good luck.
funny, I heard the guy that's over the NFL officials who came out and said, now, how do you suspect that we can get 170 some refs to all work on the same page to benefit for one team? Like the idea that the refs were cheating for the Chiefs was so ridiculous because, like you said, to get 10 guys to do all the same thing in one, 10 or 11 guys to do the same thing, it's hard enough. So if each crew never worked the Chiefs more than once, or maybe a couple of them worked them twice, like you have to have so many people involved in some sort of conspiracy to make something like that happen. Not let alone the idea that the league is behind it, who is 32 separate entities, none of whom are going to do anything to help the other one. That
Right.
just is absolutely nuts. So I don't understand. And Steve, you said it a couple of times. If they knew that they needed to go to a quick passing game, do you really think that it was that they just didn't? Andy just sat there and didn't do it, or there was things in there? Because I got to go back and look at the film. There had to be, and of course, when you're only rushing forward, now your linebackers are right there in those drop zones in the middle of the field, helping take away that quick pass. I can't imagine that Andy just didn't do it. There had to be reasons why they.
Well, coordinators get caught up in what they're trying to get done and what they believe is going to break. So, and like I said, I'm not saying they were not going to a quick passing game because they just want to lose. I'm saying that what happens all too often is you think, okay, I got this blitz dog one that's going to work. It's going to catch him in this play, this play, this play, this play. You see that first play, it's like, okay, they're going to this next play, so I'm going to call the dog one. So you call the dog one, and they didn't run that play. And then you're like, okay, well, I'll go to cover 3, cover 7. You call another call, and then they run one of the plays you anticipated. It's a chess game between coordinators. And the coordinators, they got to get in their groove. And a lot of times, and I would tell you, against Buffalo, Spags couldn't have been better. Could not have been better. That corner blitz was absolute genius. But it was only genius because it worked.
Right.
Had it not worked, you'd be like, that's the dumbest son of a bitch on the planet. Because that's how coordinating goes. And what I feel like is they got caught in what they were trying to get done as opposed to recognizing what the defense was giving them. They're giving you 4-man rush, so they're giving the maximum coverage they can get, and they're basically saying our front 4 got to beat your front 5. And what happened is it happened consistently.
All night long.
It happened consistently, and that's when the adjustments got to happen, and you usually see the adjustment coming out at halftime. That's when you see the biggest adjustment, because you had a chance to watch the first half. The guys upstairs were watching the first half for you. They were saying this, that, and the other. They're coming up with proposals on how to make whatever you're trying to make work. Offense is a different animal than defense. Defense, we don't have a choice but to respond to what the offense is giving us. Offense, it's an art of learning how to respond to what they're giving you. They're giving you max coverage, so they're one-on-one up front. And all you're thinking, okay, let me go ahead and keep the back end, let me keep the tight end in, and that should help. Guess what? They beat those rushes. They beat those protections. It's like, shit, what are we going to do? And you hit panic mode, and you don't have that outside person who's just watching it. You got everybody that's in the game that knows the game plan. That's who's on the headset. And everybody believes in the game plan because good coaches listen to everybody that's contributing. So the receivers coach saying, hey, we want to run these routes on these plays. The running backs coach is saying, yeah, we want to help here to help this. So everybody's trying to make the game plan work. And sometimes, and this was one of those games, you need to pull out of yourself and look at yourself from the outside. Easy to say when I'm 1,400 miles away. Easy to say. It's another thing when you're on the ground and you're making the calls. You don't hear Tom Brady commentating on, you guys need to do this. You don't hear any of that shit. All you hear is the guys that you're with. And this was just one that we got out game planning in my book. There's no doubt we're still the best team in the NFL. We still are, but we got out game plan. And that happens. And the only thing you want that I'm looking for is that the coaching staff owns it and says, let's not have the fire sale. Let's not just dump on Humphreys, dump on all of our offensive line. They just outplayed us, y'all. They did, and we should have adjusted. Because that's the NFL when it comes down to it. Everybody's fucking great. Not good. Everybody's great. And like I said, when I saw Davis get a sack, I was like, oh, shit. We're in trouble. Because Davis hadn't did anything for the Eagles most of the year. He's the biggest, fastest, strongest man in the league. And he didn't go to the Pro Bowl? Yeah. It's just what it is, man.
Yeah, and that's to me, for me, I guess it comes back down to I'm a strong believer in no matter how good the coach is, no matter how good the game plan is, it's the players on the field executing that actually makes it happen. And we got out executed. Their front four were better at being defensive linemen that night than our front five was at playing offensive line. And
what did they say about us? They said that their front five was going to run all over our front four. They didn't.
They did not. The defense put up as much of a fight as they possibly. I was so proud to see how they played the run.
Yes. I mean, as a run stopper,
nothing.
I will tell you in a heartbeat. Yeah, that was the best run defense,
man,
in NFL history because you stopped the best running back against one of the biggest offensive lines you've ever gone against.
Yeah,
the greatest game y'all could have ever played for run defense. Hats off.
Hats off, for real. And that was about execution. That was about guys staying in their lanes. That was about
discipline,
making tackles when they got a chance. You didn't see no missed tackles. When they got to Saquon, they got him on the ground. And you get him on the ground after 3 or 4 yards, and let's go play another play.
Mm-hmm. And what did I say? I thought if you just kept him under 120, that was a good game.
Yeah,
they kept him under 100.
Yeah,
I was proud of them. So
yeah,
and I also, what's weird is I know everybody calls it garbage time and all of that, but I thought that to throw to Worthy at the end of the game to get that touchdown, the little bit of rhythm that they caught on offense there in the fourth quarter, I realized those guys from Philly were already, on their way to Cancun, but it still was important to see Pat and this offense go out there and just keep plugging and not quit, not give up, because it's not about that one game at that point, because that game was almost pretty much lost. But it was still about the idea that this run, this team is not dead. This team is going to be right back at you next year.
See, this gets back to the championship mentality.
Yes.
The reality of what the team has. You ain't going out like no sucker. You ain't gonna get blanked. So that ain't gonna happen. So pride kicked in.
Yes.
But like I said, the biggest thing is that the coach got to admit, whoever, I don't know if it was Nagy or if it was Reed. I'm sure if it was Reed, he's going to admit it. If it's Nagy, I don't know because I don't know him. But you just got to admit, you could have went to the quick passing game and that would have been the way to get yourself out. The NFL is the NFL. You're not going to the Super Bowl with Rudy Poot Johnson and JoJo Dancing. You are going to have the premier of premier players if you are in the Super Bowl. You are not going to get there, and you can have whatever razzle-dazzle offense and defense you want. You are going to have premier athletes getting there. The art of what it is to win is to use what you got and use it the best way it can be used. Again, when I played, I hate talking about it because the Dallas Cowboys was the best shit back in 96, 95. Them motherfuckers could run all over us because they was big as shit. You couldn't stop them. You had Emmitt Smith, you had Troy Aikman, you had Michael Irvin. Get all the strong guys you want. It didn't matter. They could bully you, and you just had to take it. It was the worst double team I ever took on, Larry Allen and Flozell Adams. The biggest men ever took on in my life.
Yes.
And all I could do was just dive and take out their ankles.
Right.
It wasn't that I was a bad player. It's that those guys were spectacular. They weren't just great.
Right.
So when you're dealing with run defense, and that's what I'm there for, to stop the run, I just got to give myself up.
Yeah.
And not worry about making the tackle and say that if I take these two guys out, then at least my backer's free to possibly make the play.
Right.
But that's the game. And I didn't have to play that way against everybody else. But against them, that's how I had to play because that's who they had. So it's about personnel and the matchups and how you meet them where they are. And that's all. We didn't do it. And it sucked.
Did you go to the combine?
Yeah.
You know, obviously the next step at this point, regardless, just like spring is going to come after winter, Super Bowl's over, it's time for the combine. Let's talk about that experience and what that's like for these young kids, these college kids, and for the organizations and their process on evaluating talent. Because in my opinion, that's been one of the things that the Chiefs have been absolutely best at, is evaluating talent and bringing in young players. And this year, more than anything, I heard Brett Veach say that their draft this year is going to be their free agency. Like they're not going to have a bunch of money to go throw around at free agents, that they're going to have to value and get real value out of the players they bring through the draft. Talk about the combine and what that kind of sets up for players.
Combine is a multi-pronged, multi-dimensional, depending on the club you're going to. More clubs rely on their pro scouting department their college scouting department, pro personnel director, and the general manager. They really take over with finding the talent. The coaches just kind of sign off on guys, but they don't always pick the guys. Depending upon, how the esteem of your head coach depends upon, how much clout he's got in the draft room. I've never been in a draft room, so I can't tell you for certain. I just know when I've talked to coaches outside of the spectrum, that these are the things that they shared with me. For a player, it's terrifying. Unless you're the first in top 10 picks, they seem to be pretty relaxed, but everybody else was nervous as shit because you don't know where you're going, and all you can do is pray to get as high as you can get. It's a meat locker. You feel like a slave because they're basically buying you for your body and what your body can do. Your film is already in, so everything that they're evaluating you on is just things to say whether they're going to come after you early or late. And they're putting together their attack strategy on how they're going to come after it. If they don't get this guy in this round, they're going to try to get him in the next round. And then what their priority is based on the draft selection. So I would see, especially the Chiefs, that it would make sense that they would turn to that because they got a veteran crew. Even their young guys are middle-aged now. Worthy's going in his second year, and he's already got ample playing time to where it's like, you ain't a rookie no more, son. You got to go in and be a heavy contributor. Andy, knowing him, he's about development. He always has been. He knows that guys need to learn this game before they thrown into the fire. So he doesn't like going to get guys in the first round unless they just have some glaring kind of talent that, lifetime, once in a lifetime talent, he'll go get it. But otherwise, he prefers to just develop guys and give them a year or two to learn the game. And that's what he's got. He's got a veteran crew, enough veterans around the young kids to teach them the ropes and how to fit in and how to be a contributor down the line. So it makes sense that that's where they would turn their attention this year to the draft as opposed to free agency. Like I said, one's or twosie, maybe a new left tackle from free agency, but everybody else, yeah, get them from the draft. That's what it makes sense to me. But each club's going to do it their own way. And, sometimes the owner comes in and, like Jerry Jones, and there ain't shit you can say. You can have all the guys you want on there. Jerry's made up his mind on 2 guys, and that's it.
Craziness. Rev, how do you deal? I know you've dealt with so many different players at so many levels. Like were you around some of these young guys and some of these rookies coming in, and how like Steve talked about feeling like it's the meat market, and that combine. It's very interesting I love watching it because I still think there's a lot you can learn about guys, just how their hips move, what kind of get off they have, what kind of natural ability to catch the ball if they're a receiver. Like there's still a lot you can learn by watching what these guys do at the combine if you really know what you're looking for.
Oh, without a doubt. I think that really what you find is the fact that you get some redundancy. You get the same question or the same doctors looking because they're evaluating whether they're going to pay you on your futures. That's what they're paying you for. It's not the 27 touchdowns at Rutgers or Temple or Florida State. They're thinking, is he going to be a productive athlete on the field for us, the Baltimore Ravens? So, do I have stories? Oh, I have some good ones that can't come on the podcast because some of those guys they might be watching. Truly, the real factors. I was there, and we had an open draft room in Minnesota where, if you remember, Kevin Williams was late to the we were late to the podium, and Baltimore jumped ahead of us got their guy, and then we got big ticket, and that was just one, okay? And it almost happened the next year, which is what most people don't know. Now, the better stories are the guys you get in free agency. I've got so many Fred Smoot stories that some people think that, that's all I have. Well, that's not the case. It's just the fact that somebody gets in your psyche like he did. And, Fred Smoot's hilarious. So, he would steal what Deion Sanders would say, like, water covers 70% of the earth and I cover the other 30%, right? Mm-hmm. So you get those guys out there and I mean, like I said, they're hilarious. Having worked with, Darren Sharper and EJ Henderson and some of that. I remember the first day that EJ Henderson ran out to OTAs in May, and his eyes were as big as saucers. He didn't know me from a can of paint. We would later, be at the same facility working together. But I remember saying to him, "Welcome to the league, dog." And when he just looked back at me like, who is this pompous little, saying to me, "Welcome to the league." And I would throw out just a little bit of vinegar every once in a while just to talk smack. And one of my favorites was Bryant McKinnie. McKinney and I still talk. Uh, and he used to tell me, if you do that again, I'm going to squeeze your head. Bryant can literally take his hand and put it over the top of my head. I mean, his hands are so big. And, this year, I think he just went into the National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame as one of the greatest offensive tackles in college football history. But what always made him just endearing to me was how personable he is, and more importantly, how playful. Okay, and that you don't get that with everybody, right, Steve? I mean, the first time Steve and I meet wasn't one of those pleasantries. Steve was in a different mind space as I was, and I had said something to him, and he just kind of looked at me like, why don't you beat it? Because I got to just wind around, uh, practice. Well, here's the one thing that I will share. The first practice I would bring out, and I brought out for every practice about 25 packs of Bubblicious bubble gum. Okay. And by about the third week of practice, everybody knew where I was at. And I remember one of the head coaches walking up to me and he said, "How do you have such a rapport with these athletes and coaches?" And I just pulled out like 4 or 5 packs of bubble gum and showed him. And he said, "You got to be kidding me." And I said, "No." I go, "You only have juicy fruit and wintergreen and big red in the locker room. I got grape and watermelon and strawberry." And it wasn't too long after that he put his order in.
Little
So, and to this day, if you name an athlete that played on one of those teams, I could tell you what bubble gum they wanted. Even the coordinators, okay? Like, I'll just pick on Ted Cottrell. Ted Cottrell was 2 packs of grape Bubblicious,
Nice.
and that was every day.
A
Okay,
little
so
goes a long way, huh?
well, and that's about how long it lasted too. If you remember Bubblicious, it's
Yeah,
only going to give you about 5 minutes of
really
luxury, and then after that, it's like just chewing some cowhides. So
right. Bubblicious. Well, the great thing about the NFL, in my opinion, and we were talking about this the other day, now the season really never ends. I mean, here we are in February, Super Bowl just happened,
it never ends.
Combine will happen here in a couple of weeks. The free agency starts right after that in March. The draft's in April. May is the first part of mini camp. Then OTAs in June. And training camp is back on in July. We're back at it. So I love football. I'm loving what being able to root for this Chiefs organization in this time in my life. After having spent so many years where this team was just either really bad or won a lot of games but no championships. The idea that they've won 3 Super Bowls out of the last 6, that they've been to 5 out of 6, the fact that they've had 7 straight AFC championship games, 9 straight AFC West division titles. What a time to be a Chiefs fan. So it hurt on Sunday to take that licking that we took. But like you said, that's the game, baby. That's how it goes. You win some and you lose some.
At least we're not talking about the Patriots.
At least we're not talking about the Patriots for real. So, all right, fellas, we're gonna get out of here. Uh, wrapped up this season. Another Super Bowl. I tell everybody I'll be ready for the Arrowhead Invitational AFC Championship game next year. see if we can get back to the Super Bowl again next year. But we're going to get out of here on this Locker Room Show. Make sure you guys hit us up on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere, YouTube, anywhere you can get your podcast. Make sure you guys lock in with us. We'll be continuing to talk beyond football season. We got a whole crew that we're going to bring at you, talking basketball, NBA, and college. A major trade last week in the world of basketball with Luka Doncic going to the Lakers. Right now, All-Star Weekend's about to come up, and after that, in my opinion, NBA playoffs is some of the best athletics to watch that there is on earth. I love the NBA playoffs. So that'll be starting not too far down the road. College basketball and March Madness. We'll have all of that. Baseball, pitchers and catchers reported today or yesterday. So, like, it's all coming at us right now, and we'll be back with you right here on the Locker Room Show doing more of that. Steve, what you got for us, brother? Take us out on that word.
Hey, the end of a great season. Ended in heartbreak, but no disappointment because they left it on the field. So we got the off season and we got NIL. So we got a lot of things to prepare for. So everybody just stay tuned. Godspeed. Peace.
Rev, of course, as always, you got the final word. Take us out, brother.
Well, for our folks in Philadelphia, all I have to say is heavy is the head that wears the crown. Now you go find out what happens when the rabbits got the gun. And it is what it is. I mean, you're going to get everybody's best, just like KC got everybody's best. We'll see how you do. Usually, the last time Philly won a Super Bowl, they didn't go back for a while. That was 2017 when they won. So we'll see what happens. Okay, but heavy is the head that wears the crown, and it ain't no fun when the rabbits got the gun. So we'll see what happens with this new championship team. So for all of us at the locker room, I want to thank you guys for a great season. Always fun talking sports. Always fun talking Chiefs football. More importantly, you know what? What else are we gonna do during the week than get together and make a show? So, hats off to you guys, for everybody behind the scenes, for Rich, for Big Jacks, for Steve, myself. Thanks for showing up. We really appreciate it.
Once again, it's the Locker Room Show. We are out of here. Peace.